Hey, what's going on guys? Welcome back to another banner review video. We got the second spring banner here and it includes 4 new variants of already existing heroes. They are Katria, Alphonse, Sharina, and Kagero. Like always, I'll be going over the default stats, skills, some pros and cons, and at the very end, I'll finish things off with my summoning priority list. I think I'm going to go back to doing banner reviews and build videos separately because there's just so many builds out right now and I want to focus on theory crafting better builds for you guys rather than just creating simple builds and rushing the video, so I hope you guys understand my decision. Anyways, first hero is Katria, Blue Tone Cavalier, and at max level she has 36 HP, 32 attack, 35 speed, 18 defense, 23 resistance, and 144 BST. So it looks like she has a pretty unique stat line for a Blue Tone Cavalier. Alwyn, Ursula, and La Rochelle are all decent offensively and have good resistance. Katria, on the other hand, has better offensive stats, but she has way less resistance, which obviously means that she'll take more damage from magical attacks. She does have really good speed, and with 59 total magical bulk, you can definitely increase her speed to the point where she can prevent doubles. So in reality, her ability to survive isn't as bad as it looks. That being said, desperation is going to be pretty important for her. She can take a hit, get into desperation range, which allows for immediate doubles, and that'll help her one round KO distant counter melees and other ranged foes easier. Blade Tone build is probably going to be one of her best builds just because of how her stat line is, but let's take a look at her unique weapon. It grants 3 resistance passively, and at the start of turn, if unit's HP is equal or greater than 50%, inflicts attack and defense -5 on foe on the enemy team with the lowest resistance through its next action. So it's kind of like the chill skills, except that it inflicts a weaker debuff in 2 different stats, has a health requirement, and is based on a certain enemy's lowest stat, which in this case is the enemy with the lowest resistance. It's a pretty cool effect. Usually units with low resistance have very high defense. For example, Hector, Xerxes, Crom, Lucas, Sigurd, Black Knight, and the list goes on and on. The bad thing is that this weapon effect doesn't really help Katria herself because she's a mage. You might say, well, if she inflicts -5 attack on somebody, then she'll be able to soak more damage. The problem with that is that most mages have really high resistance, so this effect wouldn't target them. So yeah, it's great for allies, but not for her. Assist is drawback, which is perfect. Put drawback on your ranged units and reposition on melees. For some reason, I like reposition on cavaliers. I don't know why. B skill is chill resistance, so her weapon targets the enemy with the lowest resistance. Chill res targets the one with the highest resistance, so theoretically speaking, these 2 effects should almost never hit the same target unless there's only 1 foe left. That's actually pretty neat because then Katria is debuffing 2 different enemies with defensive debuffs, which means you have an easier time to take out 2 enemies in 1 turn. This also gives Katria 7 or 14 more damage, which is amazing, but if Katria receives a decent chunk of damage from any counterattack, she's going to be very low, and since Chill Res blocks Katria from using Desperation, then she might have a hard time in the future fights, especially since distant counter units populate the arena. Anywho, this skill is great for fodder. The best unit to inherit it to is Reinhardt. His B slot was already very flexible, and this skill will basically grant him 14 more damage. C skill is Drive Speed. Great skill, arguably the best drive skill because it affects the speed stat, and speed is very important. Katria is kind of weird, right? She has really strong offensive stats, but her skills are all supportive skills. If you want to turn her into a nuke, then it's going to cost you a lot of resources. Solid unit, but not exciting. As for her IVs, she has 144 BSC, so she's 1 point off from the next quote bin. So a super boon in HP pushes her up to 145. That's great if you plan on using Katria in arena. Otherwise, the best boon is speed. Attack is okay, but speed is more important. Best bane is defense, and if you don't care about arena score, then HP is the second best bane. Next is Alphonse, Axe Cavalier, and has 41 HP, 35 attack, 33 speed, 30 defense, 18 resistance, and 157 BST. These are really good stats. It's comparable to Frederick in a way, but not really. With this kind of stat line, there's a lot of different builds that he can go for depending on IVs. If he's plus speed, then he can opt to go for a speed refinement on his weapon that should push him up to 39 speed and then 45 with horse buffs, and even more with a speed boosting A skill. He has 35 attack, so if he's plus attack, then you can always go for a Brave Axe stat. With plus defense IVs, maybe go for an enemy face set with a defense refined weapon. You could always go any of those builds that I just mentioned with neutral IVs as well. Really good stats, which is a shame because he's so good for fodder. His weapon is Giant Spoon, deals plus 10 damage when special triggers. This weapon is inheritable and refinable. It's basically an axe version of Wo Dao. Any fast axe hero would love this weapon. Some good candidates include Titania, Anna, Legion, Raven would be a good one, but he has Basilicos, and both Azuras. You could also give it to slower units, but they'll require cooldown reducing skills. The best unit to give this weapon to is probably Winter Crom because Bold Fighter is a thing. Give him Bold Fighter in a 3-charge special and he's going to win tons of matchups, including unfavorable ones. Special is Noontime. Noontime and Soul actually works with his weapon effect, so when Noontime activates, Alphonse will deal 10 more damage. A skill is Sturdy Blow. I like the kit synergy we got here. It's all offensive and defensive at the same time. Very good for sustainability. Giant Spoon and Noontime together grants Alphonse 10 more damage while also restoring his health. And Sturdy Blow increases his attack and reduces counterattack damage by 4. C skill is Defense Smoke. After combat, inflicts defense -7 on foes within 2 spaces of targets through their next actions. It's a bit harder to use than, let's say, Attack or Speed Smoke. To simply put it, you need the right units in the right spots, but if you can utilize it correctly, then it'll be a very strong skill. Big Bulge Alphonse is also pretty solid, very flexible and versatile. Not only that, he's great for fodder and has a synergistic default kit. He's not the most tanky unit out there, but with how the kit is laid out, he can go in, deal some damage, take reduced damage, restore some health, apply defense smoke debuff on surrounding enemies, then your allies can go in and take advantage of the debuff. As for boons and banes, the best boon is speed then attack. Defense wouldn't be that bad either. Best bane kind of depends, but I would say resistance first and then HP. Third hero is Sharina, Green Tome Infantry, and she has 37 HP, 32 attack, 36 speed, 16 defense, 30 resistance, and 151 BST. The best comparison is Nino, and despite Sharina having 1 less attack, I think she's better because she's bulkier physically and magically. Nino is easier to get merge levels for, so if you just started playing this game and you are trying to decide between Sharina or Nino, then I would suggest investing into Nino. Her weapon is Moonin's Egg, grants 3 resistance passively. At the start of turn, if unit's HP is greater or equal than 50%, inflicts attack and resistance -5 on foe on the enemy team with the lowest speed through its next action. Just like Catria's Egg, it has its own pros and cons. The pro is that the effect actually benefits the wielder. -5 resistance on the slowest enemy means that she'll deal 10 extra damage to the debuff target. The con is that it doesn't help her defensively because the enemies that you want to inflict the minus attack debuff on are the faster ones, more specifically the faster mages. A skill Swift Stance 2 grants speed and resistance +4 when this unit is attacked. Great skill for mage tanks that have medium to high speed like Sharina herself. Speed combined with either defense or resistance is always a good pairing because more speed obviously prevents doubles from more matchups, and the extra defense or resistance reduces damage, so it's almost as good as it gets when it comes down to a defensive stat boosting A skill. B skill is Live for Bounty, which is kind of like whatever, you get more shards and crystals. C skill is Res Tactic, a buffing skill made for mixed teams. Allies that benefit from this buff are disencounter units like Legendary Ike, Ryoma, Hector, and etc. Not a bad hero at all, really fast, the same as Nino, respectable attack and pretty high resistance. She's basically as good as Nino, arguably better, but worse for 5-star plus 10ing unless you're a whale. Sharina is more versatile when it comes down to builds because she has her own unique weapon and has better bulk. Best boon for her is speed then attack. Best bane is defense, even though it is a -4 super boon. Her BSD drops from 151 to 150, so it doesn't affect arena scoring. Last hero is Kagero. She's our first dagger flyer unit, so that's pretty cool. 36 HP, 35 attack, 34 speed, 18 defense, 27 resistance, and exactly 150 BST. Just from her stats and her color type, I would say that she's a fairly strong unit because in my opinion, colorless units are the best nukers in the game because they have no weapon disadvantage. Their only weakness are Raven Tomes, and most Raven Tome users run Triangle Depth to amplify the effect, which you could just counter with the Cancel Affinity skill. The biggest issue for dagger units is that they don't have easy access to good weapons. For example, Slaying Dagger aka Kagami Mochi is on a limited edition unit. Same with Kitty Paddle, Seashell, and then Kagero's Lethal Carrot, which is another great dagger that is exclusively on a seasonal unit. And speaking of Lethal Carrot, it's basically a Wodao dagger, which is awesome. However, flyers don't have access to most of the cooldown reduction skills like Wrath, Steady Breath, Warding Breath, and Flashing Blade. So Heavy Blade is the only option they have. Combine the Heavy Blade Seal and a 2-charge offensive special and she'll be dishing out tons of damage. And speaking of 2-charge specials, she has Glimmer, which is a perfect special to use with Lethal Carrot. Moonbow is the other option. Moonbow is better for high defense targets like armored units, while Glimmer is better against those that have medium to low defense. A skill Speed Res Bond. Basically the same thought here as Swift Stance. Speed Res Bond grants 1 more speed and resistance than Swift Stance, but it requires the unit to be adjacent to an ally, which isn't a hard requirement at all, especially considering that it's a defensive skill. I don't think you should put on your res tank mages because I think distant defense is better. When a hero has a high base res, it's better to just increase their res even higher and purposely let them get doubled for extra special charges. So I think the best users are non-mages that can counterattack from 2 spaces, for example legendary Ike. His speed is mediocre and has terrible resistance, so if you want to try to balance out his stats, you can do that with Speed Res Bond. I doubt anyone would do that because he has Warding Breath, but you guys get the idea. B skills Live for Honor. It gives you 1.5 times extra badges, including big badges. And the thing with this skill is that even though I have access to it, I'm never like, man, I need to use my unit with Live to Honor to farm extra big badges. Maybe some of you guys do that, but I certainly don't. C skills Gold Flyers. Only 2 units have this skill. They are Kagero and Paula. It's a good replacement for Home Flyers since Home Flyers is harder to get. The skill that I really want to be more accessible is Ward Flyers. I think it would create some cool teams, especially with all these new defensive bond skills being released. So Kagero is our first colorless flyer unit ever, so that's kind of a big deal, I guess. She also has a great stat line. You can build her in many different ways. You can turn her into a pure offensive unit, an anti-mage, or an utility-based build with Wind Sweep. Best boon is speed then attack, best bane is HP then defense. Defense is a -4 super boon and that lowers her BSD to 149, but if you don't care about arena scoring then disregard that. Alright, so all 4 of these units are good. There's no bad unit here, but this is my summoning priority list. I think Alphonse is the best unit to go for because not only is he a great unit, but if you get bad IVs then he's also useful for fodder. I will put Kagero as second for the same reason as Alphonse. The main reason I put her second is because of her archetype. Katria and Sharina can go either way. Katria is probably the best blue Blade Tome Cavalier user right now, and she also has chill res, which is pretty good for fodder. Sharina has good fodder skills as well, but she's quite similar to Nino. I guess I'll put Sharina third just because she's green and shares the same color as Alphonse, so if you pull for greens, you may end up getting one of these 2 heroes. Katria is fourth of course, but like I said, they are all great heroes and the fodder depends on what you need. Now if you haven't summoned yet, I would just wait and hold onto your orbs until we get more news on the Thracia banner. The spring banner is out for like a month, so no need to unload your orbs right now. And that's going to be it for this video. I wish you guys all the best of luck if you plan to pull from this banner. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.